I think, can we just take a moment to give an applause? Can we just give an applause to Martinsville for putting on an absolute beauty of a race? Beauty! Oh my god. Okay, from stage 1 to stage 2, I thought this race was really good in terms of the actual racing and storylines and strategy that was going on, but nothing chaotic, nothing out of the ordinary. The last 50 or so laps of stage 3 went off the freaking rails, alright? So we're gonna try and quickly move over stage 1 and stage 2 because I know a lot of y'all want to talk about stage 3, of course. We have timestamps in the description of this video, so you can just go ahead and skip to whenever you feel like watching this video, but we have a lot to talk about. This race had everything. Man, oh man, do I love Martinsville. I didn't even do an intro. Welcome to another episode of MDK Racing Victory Stop. My name is Jet. I know y'all are having well, if you're Denny Hamlin fans, you're probably not having a good day. You probably still are, just a little bit, but I know a lot of y'all are a bit pissed off over what took place in this race, yeah, we got some stuff to talk about. Let's not waste any time and jump right into it. Again, stage 1 was pretty normal. Nothing out of the ordinary in terms of aggression, in terms of, tempers flaring. It was pretty cordial. It started off though with Denny Hamlin. He had to start at the rear after failing pre-race inspection twice. Kyle Larson, who started on pole, wasn't a surprise to see how good he was at the beginning of the race. He led the first 56 laps until Chase Elliott, who had been putting up very consistent lap times, was keeping in touch with Kyle Larson with a little bit of help from lap traffic, was able to run down the 5 and pass him for the lead. Obviously, Chase Elliott also can run really good at this racetrack. He is the defending winner. Denny Hamlin, on the other hand, who had to start at the rear of the field, was able to make his way up around mid-pack. But he was still taking some time for him to actually pass the drivers. It wasn't like he was slowly moving his way up toward the field. It wasn't like, with other drivers where if they have a really fast car, they're up inside the top 10 immediately. It took him quite some time to get in the mix of things. But when the calm caution came out, he was around mid-pack, but he had to go back to the rear again after typical Denny Hamlin gets caught busted for speeding. Then we had some trouble with some drivers, including a playoff driver. Lap 72, Daniel Suarez gets into Ryan Newman, spinning him off of 4 right in front of Denny Hamlin. Luckily, the 11 car did not hit anything. We then move forward to Ryan Blaney. Team Penske had a very interesting day. They had a really roller coaster type of day. He was outside the top 10 and had been struggling a lot, losing positions, no drive off the corner. He even had an incident with Austin Dillon when a 3 got into the back of him. And then he also had Christopher Bell side banging him out of the racing line a few laps later in turn 3. While he was struggling, Keselowski and Logano, they were in the top 10. They weren't great by any means, but they were, having a solid day. But that was really it for stage 1 in terms of moments. Chase Elliott will go on to lead the rest of the way. Kyle Larson in 2nd, Truex 3rd, Byron 4th, Keselowski rounds at the top 5. 6th, Kyle Busch, 7th, Austin Dillon, 8th, Alex Bowman, Joe Logano 9th, and Aric Almirola rounds out the top 10. Stage 2, again, kind of like stage 1, not much action, but still some really good racing. Chase Elliott and Martin Truex Jr., they started on the front row in stage 2. Larson had to start the tail end of the field because at the same part of the timing scores of the timing section zones on pit road where Denny Hamlin got busted earlier in stage 1, Larson got busted at the exact same part of pit road, so he had to start at the rear of the field. So around stage 2 is when the Penske drivers, in fact all 3 of them, really started to struggle. Even Keselowski just a tad bit. So we start with Joe Logano. Again, he started out stage 1 all right, finishing in the 9th position, but stage 2 is when he really started to struggle. Was now outside the top 10, was in 14th position, and at some point in time, he was on about the same straightaway as Chase Elliott. His teammate, Ryan Blaney, was even in worse position. He was in 20th place, reporting no rear grip nor front grip. So he was just all over the place, could not accelerate, could not drive in properly, out in 20th place. And again, just like Logano, was about on the same straightaway as Chase Elliott. Luckily, both drivers would not go one lap down. Chase, with help from lap traffic, they were able to stay on the lead lap. Chase will go on to win the stage. Bowman in 2nd, Byron in 3rd. 4th was Truex. Hamlin was 5th. Aric Almirola, Christopher Bell, Brad Keselowski, Kyle Busch, and Kurt Busch rounds out the top 10. Now, the thing is with Bowman, Byron, and Elliott, stage 2 is when Hendrick Motorsports as a whole started to drive up towards the front. And in an odd twist, because, Larson was mired back in traffic, usually it was surprising to see Alex Bowman start to show some speed, because usually this season has been really Byron, Elliott, Larson, not in that order, just them three, and then Bowman, by himself. So to see Bowman actually show speed, show some muscle to the field was quite surprising, and it was a breath of fresh air instead of seeing the usual suspects out in front. Nice to see some non-playoff drivers like Byron wrestle up with the championship favorites. So Bowman was really, putting some, not stress, but he was, putting some really good lap times, keeping up with Elliott's speed. Byron, also showed some speed early on, but then, started to mire back later on in the stage. Now, there was another incident, though, that took place on lap 67 involving Austin Dillon. With that fender change, it did help his speed a lot. He was able to, I guess, when you're at a track like Martinsville and there is a giant hole in your right front fender, it's going to cool your tires. And when that happens, you can get longer lasting grip on those tires. So he was able to work his way up towards the front much quicker than normal for his car, it seemed. But in the long run, probably didn't work out so well because his right front tire went down and that brought out the caution. But that was early in that stage. Outside of that, nothing happened in stage 2 except Elliott dominating. But then, of course, if you probably skipped to this part of the video, I don't blame you. Stage 3 is where everything went down. So we have to set the backstory first. Number 1. By stage 3, with Chase Elliott winning those stages and earning those points, he was able to automatically clinch himself into the championship 4. So that means 2 spots were closed, 2 spots to go. Larson and Elliott were the only 2 drivers that were safe. Now when we get into stage 3, like I said in stage 2, Bowman, clearly a factor, posing a threat as a potential race-winning car. Denny Hamlin and Martin Truex Jr., they're now running solid, very strong up inside the top 10. Kyle Busch wasn't struggling, but he was still searching to find the groove, to find his mojo, to say the least. Penske drivers were a mess. Keselowski starting to fall off. Logano was the worst of the playoff drivers, was again outside the top 12, 13, 14 position. But Blaney was slowly making gains. He was able to get inside or at least get close to the top 10 once stage 3 began, but he was still not there yet, to say the least. So, okay, this is one of many moments that took place during the race. We begin off with Joey Logano, like I said, struggling. He was the worst of the playoff drivers. There was even a moment on the back straightaway where he was getting hit all over the place. And even a time when Eric Jones made real good contact with him on his left side on the back straightaway that at first seemed like a potential tire rub, but everything was all good. We fast forward to lap 310 of the race. Michael McDowell gets into Corey LaJoie, who then sends him into Josh Bilicki, spinning him, causing Bilicki to back it into the wall. Then on a restart, Denny Hamlin nearly had a Jimmy Johnson 2016 Dover moment where he missed the shift, simply missed the shift, lost a good amount of position, was clearly in no contention to challenge for the lead. But luckily, no wreck happened, none of that happened, just a little miscue. He would no longer have any issues with shifting for the rest of the race, but that was a potential scary moment. There was another caution that took place, which included back markers, Josh Bilicki and Quinn Houff again. Bilicki got loose underneath Quinn Houff in turn 3, and his car was already a mess. And then Quinn Houff, under caution, dumped Bilicki, which caused NASCAR to penalize him for 5 laps. 5 laps. I have never heard of NASCAR penalizing driver that much over payback. Now, you go back, I think it was last year, the year before at Iowa, I believe, when it was Johnny Sauter and Austin Hill. Sauter dumped Hill under caution, and Johnny Sauter was parked. I don't, maybe it's because they're back markers, but why? I'm pretty sure Quinn Houff was already 5 laps down when this happened. I don't know what, penalizing him for another 5 laps we're going to do, but that was a strong message from NASCAR to like, hey, don't, once there's a caution, no payback. We fast forward to 161 laps to go. Ryan Newman had also just a very rough day. Gets hit by Cole Custer and then sends him into Ross Chastain as Newman goes straight into the wall. After that caution with Newman, all the front runners pit except for Joey Logano. Remember, at this point, he basically needs to win to make it to Phoenix. And clearly, he didn't have the car, but maybe with track position and how things could play out, him staying on a pit road could benefit him. But before that, Denny Hamlin, once again, had issues on pit road. He didn't speed, but it was an issue with the jack. He fell from 3rd to 8th after a slow pit stop. When the jack fell, Denny couldn't feel it. Now, usually when the jack falls, you feel a loud thump, or you really feel it in your body, and then you take off. Denny didn't feel it, apparently, so that's why it took him a second for him to actually leave his pit box, because he wasn't sure whether the jack was down or not. So that's why he was so far back. Again, we fast forward to more wrecks. Suarez gets turned in turn 2 by Chase Briscoe, and then after that, pit stops, and Larson got penalized again for speeding on pit road. So yeah, a lot of the top contenders like Hamlin, Larson, just having issues either with themselves or on pit road. Then after that, 3 drivers stayed out. You had Cole Custer and both RCR drivers in Austin Dillon and Tyler Reddick. Now Truex started 3rd, the second driver on the outside lane. Reddick was on the inside on the front row, Dillon on the outside. Truex was able to get by Reddick, have I believe a lap and a half battle with Dillon before passing him, and Denny Hamlin, his teammate, falling right behind him in second. Then Hamlin got alongside Truex and Hamlin took the lead. We fast forward to 65 laps ago and more issues with Austin Dillon. With him being on the old tires, he started to fall back once we got into a pretty good green flag run. His right front tire cut down, went into the wall for the 11th caution at that time. Then we fast forward on a restart and we got more issues, this time with championship contenders. On a stack up in turn 3 between Chase Elliott and Brad Keselowski, Truex runs in the back end of Keselowski's right rear fender, causing a huge gash on the left front of Truex's tire. Or I should say left front of Truex's car, but it was a huge dent in it, which is right on top of the tire, which could be very detrimental of that tire potentially going down. So now the situation is this. This is what the playoff picture looks like now. It's going to be down between 3 drivers, Keselowski, Truex, and Kyle Busch. Needs to either A, win, or B, have the 19 of Truex have enough issues so that he can lose spots and have Keselowski advancing on points. Because at this point in time, Keselowski is, I believe, 5 points or so below the cut line. So he doesn't need much to advance, just needs to have Truex lose some spots, because at this point in time, Keselowski is, I think, 3rd or 4th, and he cannot gain any more. Even if he goes up to 2nd place, if Truex still is maybe 3rd or 4th place or 5th place, Keselowski's still out based off of points. So he needs to have Truex have some issues. Unfortunately, Keselowski would have some more issues of his own, involving NASCAR's most popular driver, the defending race winner and champion Chase Elliott, entering turn 3. These guys were racing so hard, it was bound to take place. Keselowski drives in hard, gets loose, hits Chase Elliott, sends him into the wall for the caution, and this was huge, but luckily Chase he already advanced into the championship 4 based off of points, so it didn't matter where he would finish, but it was still a big deal. But we had another caution after that with Ricky Stenhouse Jr., who gets loose underneath Kyle Larson and spins, and then Bubba Wallace ran into the back end of Chase Elliott to bring out that caution. The next restart, everything just went off the rails. Let's just say that. An aggressive but fun start between Brad Keselowski, who was all over Alex Bowman's rear bumper, beating and banging. They get side by side. Truex makes a questionable move heading into turn 3 underneath the 2 in the 48, gets loose and then gets the worst end of the deal, gets caught in the sandwich, then gets stuck on the outside lane. Then Eric Almirola gets underneath Truex heading into turn 1, gets loose, slides up, slams the 19 out of the racing groove, and then Kurt Busch comes in out of nowhere, hits him again, and sends Truex smacking into the wall. So now after all that happened, in 2 turns, Truex went from maybe 5 points above the cut line to maybe 1 in or 1 out. There was even a point in time where they were tied between Kyle Busch and Martin Truex Jr. for a certain amount of laps, because Kyle Busch at that time was also gaining spots. So it was an incredible 3-way battle for the final playoff spot, or championship spot I should say, between Keselowski, Truex, and Busch, because all 3 had really fast cars. Even Keselowski, even how much of a roller coaster he had throughout this race, the team was starting to gain some speed and make some gains on their race car, and they were now a factor, not for the win, but at least to advance. And then that's when all hell broke out loose out in front. First of all, awesome racing up front between Alex Bowman and Denny Hamlin. There was at one point in time where Bowman gave the bumper to Hamlin, and he had the lead for about a lap before he actually pulled aside and let Hamlin go to retake the lead in turn 1. And then you had Keselowski and Kyle Busch. They were battling hard for 3rd place. Keselowski trying to hold off Kyle Busch, and at the same time get a gain on the leader so that he can gain more points and point his way in. Meanwhile, you had the final position wheel with Martin Truex Jr. He's now in 8th, 9th, 10th place, trying to rally back from that incident that he had where he smacked the wall in turn 1. So you had 3 different battles going on, 3 different types of stipulations at stake, one for the lead, one to stay in, and one to knock someone out. Again, like I said, it was a really fun battle in the closing laps of that race. And then, with 5 laps to go, that battle between Hamlin and Bowman, it crossed the line, at least in terms of racing. I think it was a racing deal, but in terms of respect, I think that went out the window. Alex Bowman gets loose in turn 3 and dumps Denny Hamlin for the race lead with, like I said, 5 laps to go. And at that time, Hamlin had about a 38-point gap or 38 or 31-point gap above the cut line, even if he were to finish second. With that spin, he went from 38, 31 points to now just 8 points. So there was even a slim chance that Denny Hamlin could even lose out on making it into the Final Four. And there was even some audio between the 2 drivers. Take a listen.
Trying to pull off a win here. We're still in this thing. We're still fine. We got to finish it off. Remain focused right now. I knew it was going to happen. There was no way he wasn't going to wreck you. It's just the mentality these days.
So yeah, clearly, the way I viewed it, it was a racing deal. You know, Bowman obviously didn't mean to. He got loose. He drove it in really hard, got loose, and slammed into Denny Hamlin. A lot of people were saying, oh, that was a cheap shot move by Bowman. I don't think that's the case. I don't think it's not Bowman's nature to go out there and do something like that. You know, yeah, he bumped them, which it's normal. Short track racing is Martinsville. It should be, in fact, I think it should be part of the normal to expect that. So, and the fact that he let him go, it would show that, hey, he doesn't want to race like that. It was unintentional. And then when he got into him, of course, he didn't want that to happen, and it happened, but he didn't mean to do that. So I think a lot of people are over-exaggerating this, but, you know, Hamlin, I mean, he has every right to be upset. Yeah, it was an accident, but still, he got dumped for the lead. You know, regardless of what happens, he got dumped at the end of the day. We did have a 2-lap shootout. Bowman was able to hold on and steal the win away. There was even a skirmish between Kyle Busch and Keselowski, where even after the race, I don't know if Kyle Busch just came down, just not giving a damn or what, but he just came down and just dumped himself, or Keselowski probably just didn't even bother making the corner, dumped Kyle Busch. I don't know. Regardless of what happened, it was a mental way to end the penultimate race of the 2021 Cup Series season, and once again offered another reason why I love short track racing. I love it, especially Martinsville and Bristol. And speaking of Martinsville, the crowd size, I was surprised by that many people showed up. I could be wrong, but it looked like there was more people this year than 2019 or 2018. I mean, it was a lot of people. I was quite surprised by how big the crowd was for this race, and I'm pretty sure they got to see a really good show. There was even, even after the race, when Alex Bowman was going to do his burnouts, you had Denny Hamlin, who he came flying out of nowhere, just stopped dead in front of Alex Bowman. And then even when Alex Bowman did a burnout again, Hamlin went, nose to nose and started giving him double middle fingers. It was absolutely beautiful. You could see, I don't know if I'll pull it up, but there is a camera shot where you could see Hamlin giving Alex Bowman middle fingers, and then Alex Bowman's doing this, like, what did I do? Like, what? Like, what's going on? It was absolutely gold. It was just gold. It was like the icing on the cake. And then Denny Hamlin, of course, giving his thoughts after the race.
He's just a hack. He's just an absolute hack. He gets his ass kicked by his teammates every week, and just, he's fucking terrible. He's just terrible, and he sees one opportunity and he takes it. But obviously, he's got the fastest car every week, and he runs 10th. So he didn't want to race us there. We had a good, clean race. I moved up as high as I could on the racetrack to give him all the room I could, and he still can't drive.
To be that close with the day you guys had, to come from the back, how much more frustrating does that make it to get cleaned out, in your opinion, there at the very end?
I didn't hear what you said.
To have the day you guys had coming from the back like you did, does that make it worse at the end?
No, I mean, we got in, we did what we had to do, but I just wanted to race there at the end, and just, he's just terrible.
Thanks, Denny.
Oh man, I'm just saying this. I am glad we didn't hear no "Let's Go Brandon" or any of that crap of what we saw at Talladega. I'm glad that we just heard boos. Boos are fine, but don't bring any of that crap in here about with "Let's Go Brandon" or whatever the case may be. Anyways, that's for a different story. But yeah, what a way to end the round of 8. What a way to add some momentum to the championship race next weekend at Phoenix. So this is your championship for 2 former champions and 2 looking for their first ever championship. Martin Truex Jr., the 2017 Cup Series champion. Chase Elliott, the defending champion, won here last year. Kyle Larson and Denny Hamlin, they're both still looking for their first Cup championships. This is a really nice field. This is going to be interesting to see how it plays out next weekend with Phoenix, especially with qualifying coming in and practice, so we can actually get to see who stacks up where. It'll be very interesting to see how it plays out. Let's take a look at the unofficial results for this race. So you have Bowman winning, Kyle Busch in second, Keselowski third, Truex and Byron, they round out the top 5. 6, Eric Almirola, Kurt Busch in 7th, Jones in 8th, Chris Buescher 9th, and Joey Logano rounds out the top 10. So Logano, he by staying out on pit road would have been put his car in better position, but still they just didn't have the raw speed to be able to win this race. Blaney in 11th after I don't even know what you call it type of day. 12th, Kevin Harvick. 13th, Austin Dillon. Larson 14th, Benedetto in 15th. Elliott 16th, Bell 17th, Reddick, Stenhouse Jr., and Anthony Alfredo, they round out the top 20. LaJoy 21st, Chase Briscoe and teammate Cole Custer 23rd, 22nd and 23rd. Hamlin, after leading 103 laps, finishes 24th. Not the way he wanted to end his race, absolutely. Bubba Wallace, his driver, finishes behind him. Michael McDowell, Chastain, Suarez, BJ McLeod, and Cody Ware, they round out the top 30. And some notables like Justin Haley, Ryan Newman, Ryan Preece, and yeah, those are your 38 drivers from today's Martinsville Xfinity 500. Yeah, this race was a beauty. This race was beauty. Is this race of the year? I think this is race of the year. I give it a 10 out of 10. Race of the year. This race again had everything. It had everything, and I love that. I knew Martinsville would bring it. I had a feeling Martinsville would bring it, but still, I was not expecting that. Bowman, I don't know what is it with Alex Bowman this year, but Bowman always seems to come to light out of nowhere. Yes, I know in stage 2, he showed speed, but still, I don't know. Like when you go into a race, you don't think Alex Bowman has a shot at winning. Look at his 3 races that he's won this year: Richmond, Dover, and Pocono. All 3, he may have had good car. He had a good car, but no one had him as a race-winning favorite. The same could be applied to Martinsville. I mean, yeah, to a lesser extent, because he did show real good speed earlier in the race. You could say he could pose a threat. But still, I mean, I don't know. Bowman just seems to come out of nowhere and just steal these wins. And again, 10 out of 10 race. No other way to say it. Just absolute beauty. And again, can we please? I've said this already. We need to have either a Bristol or a Martinsville type of event here in Florida. And I propose that we have Bristols and Martinsvilles at every state in America. All right, that should be a guarantee. All right, make short track racing great again. Just add Martinsvilles and Bristols all over America. Hell, all over the world. Put one in the UK. I'm sure that will do well as well. But yeah, that's gonna conclude this episode of MDK Racing Victory Stop. What are your thoughts in this race? Send them in the comment section down below. But until next time, my name is Jett from MDK. Thank y'all so much for watching. Congratulations to Alex Bowman, your winner at Martinsville.